1. Where do you live now? Number 2. Why did you move there? Number 3. How does this place make you? Pretty terrible, isn't it? Me just reading from my notes. I bet you feel like I'm not even here with you. And if you were being interviewed, it would be a lot worse. But there's a way to change that. Here's a neat trick from StillMotion to remember long lists of interview questions with no notes.
Hey folks, I'm Patrick of StillMotion. So you spent a lot of time preparing for your interview, coming up with a solid list of questions that you'd like to ask. But if you write them down and bring a notepad, it's going to feel a lot like a performance, and we want to avoid that. But if you leave your notepad at home and focus solely on the conversation, you might forget what you wanted to ask. And we also want to avoid that. So here's a trick. It's going to help you create a mental image map so you can quickly remember a long list of questions and leave those notes behind.
I like it!
So we've got 4 easy steps. We'll organize our questions, turn each into a keyword, turn the keyword into an image, and then connect the images. Now first, you need to organize your questions into a logical order. Rather than focus on a linear sequence, such as starting at the beginning and working from there, try and group your questions emotionally. Start with simple questions before moving on to the deeper, more difficult ones.
Linear or emotional? Linear or emotional? Emotional. Order your questions emotionally.
So we would begin with question 1, how the interviewee got started, then into number 2, what inspired him, before moving to the hardest part of what he does, then his most inspiring moment, and then understand why he does what he does.
Ah, so it's more of an emotional crescendo than a sequential timeline. Nice.
Second, we're going to turn each question into a single keyword. For example, the first question of how he got started could be the keyword start. The second question of what inspires him could be fire, for passion. The third question about the hardest part of his job could be hard. Now here's the fun step. You'll need to turn each keyword into an image, and the crazier it is, the easier it is to remember. And as you create your image, you're going to connect them together. Image 1 to image 2, image 2 to image 3, and so on. So the keyword start could be a starting line, and I'll imagine that in my head. And then for the keyword fire, we can imagine that starting line catching on fire. For the keyword hard, we can imagine the fire hardening and falling over. Our fourth keyword was flash, for their most inspiring moment. And so we can imagine camera flashes going off as the fire hardens and falls over. If you actually take the time to imagine this, it only takes a couple minutes for you to memorize all your questions.
Start, fire, hard, flash.
Continue this process for as many questions as you have. In your interviews, as you start to picture the starting line catching fire, the fire hardening, the flashes going off, the questions are going to all come back to you with no notes. We've done 90-minute interviews, more than 15 questions with absolutely no notes. As your interview happens, you can just keep repeating the map in your head, and it's going to let you know where you're at and help you recap at the end of the interview in case you missed anything.
Make an image map of your questions and leave your notes at home. Give it a try and let us know how it works. Share some of the fun and crazy ways you connect your questions in the discussion area below.
Did you just learn something new to up your filmmaking game? Well, learn even more with our other tutorials. And remember to subscribe to know when new videos are released. Got questions? Ask away in the comments section. Or just say hi. Hi. How you doing? I'm good. If you're asking.